WVOA at 1690. This is the Talk of Chicago, brothers and sisters. Brother Naba'a Richard Muhammad, Brother James G. Muhammad, yours truly, Brother BJ. We are here for the second hour of our program. Make sure you go to our website before you turn in tonight, StraightWords.com, StraightWords.com. We have all the information on the website that you can make a donation, and we would love your support. You can also check out all of our premium content, original content from our editors, and, of course, we have the replay on-demand content from our previous shows that you can check out in case you missed something. And tonight's show will also be up later on tomorrow morning. So make sure you go to the website, straightwords.com, right here on WVON 1690, the Talk of Chicago. All right, Brother Naba'a, we warmed up real nice. Let's get into the second hour, Brother James G.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. We've had Brother Ajuma Muhammad and Brother Anthony Shahid holding. I'd like to bring them in. Then, Brother James, after they finish, we got to hear from you, man.
Oh, yes, sir.
Brother Anthony, you there? Brother Ajuma, you there?
Yes, sir. Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Sir.
Brother Ajuma?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay. I didn't know if they heard you. I'd like to start with a prayer with the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. I bear witness that no God but Allah, and I bear witness Muhammad. This is Nasheed. A lot of things have been said, but my brother Jimmy was on just a little bit before me, so I want to give him a chance. I hear about Brother Anthony Shahid all the time, but sometimes we don't get a chance to hear about the quiet man behind the scene. He speaks volumes. Brother Jim, I would like you to jump in first because I have so much stuff to say. I don't think it's fair to jump in front of you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Shahid. I will be brief. I want to say assalamu alaikum to the royal family.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful, praise be to Allah, the cherisher and sustainer of the world, most gracious, most merciful. I had an opportunity to listen to the royal family and the brothers, and I thank Allah for the opportunity to be here, to be able to listen and hear. I, too, stand with Minister Louis Farrakhan. I absolutely respect Minister Farrakhan. I support the movement and the NOI and the brotherhood, and I just thank Allah every day that this man is a blessing in our midst. I know the positive impact that he had on my life, and I, too, have become a conduit and a vessel to be able to empower others throughout the world, and it all stems from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his representative, Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I'm just happy to be in that number, and I'm here to take it all in, whatever the brothers would like to share.
All right. Well, there's so many things that are said. I don't know where to start at. I mean, this program is an impeccable program. It's unprecedented. I mean, the message and the strength that you and the brothers are talking about from StraightWords is nothing to play with. And I love how you refer to it as StraightWords. You and Brother James and Brother BJ, I mean, y'all ain't playing with them. And we can't. You said something about revenge. And, people want to always talk about, we have never been a revengeful people.
That's
I heard
right.
one of the tape that was talking about this guy, the Darwin Wolf. What this little devil's name was? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was saying the minister was showing an example and proved his example by saying, that white boy sat up in that church there in 30 minutes. Then nobody said a damn thing to him. If we was revengeful, we wouldn't even let him come up in that church. But the spirit, most of us, we like being around white folks. A little dude would sit there and finally, when he got to hearing everything he heard, he started letting loose with that gun. And then he showed the example that most time we would have never went out our way to give a little brother with sagging pants, some plaits on his head, and throwing up gang signs. They would have never let him sit there for a whole half an hour and not question them. They just wouldn't have did that. So he was showing the spirit that we have. I also thought about something that you were saying, how these different groups call themselves attacking the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who we all stand with and who we love. But it's like a litmus test for them. You can't really say who you are, or you're going to kiss white folks behind properly unless you start showing them how you're going to attack Minister Farrakhan. That's got to be one of the names, got to be saying that he's not doing this. And with everything that you see in society that the nuns has been able to do, we could talk about another 10 hours on all the accomplishments of the Honorable Nuns with Farrakhan. We just talked about the Million Man March and then talked about nothing else. It would take this whole program.
Right.
And how it was put together, what it was doing, how it was performed, and how not one piece of violence, not one argument, not one fight, and then left the place clean as what it was. I mean, it depends on which way we want to go. And when I hear you talk about the COINTEL program, I know what they did when they started coming into the black community, looking for black people, whatever name they like to call it. They was looking for who they could come in and disrupt, especially those who were speaking strong like us out there in Ferguson. Brother Marvin, you were there. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. And 7 or 8 brothers have come up dead in Ferguson. See, these white folks start doing all that damn talk. So that's why I said, I don't know which way you're going to go. You're going to hit with so much that I guess I really need somebody to ask some questions, because the COINTEL program, as far as I'm concerned, been started. These white folks never stopped it. You know, with J. Edgar Hoover, I call him Gay Edgar Hoover, what they put in place, bro, the only one that they didn't come at was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because they say he was Messianic. They never seen nobody who could clean up black people who could come into the mosque. They was in a condition. Nobody was in, Brother Marvin, Brother James, yes, Brother BJ, Radio Listener. Nobody was in this condition who could walk into a building, hear some life-giving teachings, and within a half an hour, straighten their life up, and then do something historical, want to get a slave master his name back and get an X.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know which way y'all want me to go. I can go a whole lot of ways. Because
hey, Brother Anthony, you and I talk.
Stop me while you can. You better stop me while you can. And when you start telling me about that, I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. I'm a teller.
Well, go on. Well, look, but you would have wanted to say questions, right? I want to ask you, and brothers and sisters, please join the conversation, 773-591-1690. We got some more coming for you. We're just warming up. Brother Anthony, you and I were talking, and you were talking about all of the people that love the minister, all the people that he's, you know, and these, not all of them, but some of them. Can you share with our audience some of what came to your mind about the minister's impact?
Over the years, I mean, you name them. I just said the Million Man March. They were all there. You talking about New Edition? I mean, you started to name them. We can do a roll call. Those that are listening, when they call, they can start saying some of the names because they were there. You know, one of the first brothers that ever jumped on board when I was really kind of listening, because for a while I was with Imam Muhammad. I was not with the Nation of Islam. The minister received me and put his arms around me, and Brother Ajuma did too. Brother Ajuma was with the Nation of Islam. I was with Imam Muhammad. But I was look back, brothers, and I checked out Arsenio Hall show, and I said, I'll be damned. I'm talking about people who I see love the minister, and said, man, I think you got a message for black people. Even though white folks say, don't be no damn fool now. I know you think you're hot, but you can act a fool and do something we tell you don't. We said don't invite them on that show. You won't be there. You know, Arsenio had to have some balls during them days and times, because he said, I tell you what we're going to do. Whatever y'all going to do, y'all need to do it. Because I'm going to invite him on the show, and then the rest is history, how they got rid of him. But I can go down a whole list of people, no different from when Michael Jackson, and most of them, the minister came when they were in trouble, not just somebody that was out there, but he always ran into somebody that was in trouble. Russell Simmons.
Right.
You name them, we could talk all day long. Aretha Franklin. I can tell you when the mosque first had a situation back in the 70s, early 70s, when the mosque was attacked in Temple No. 7 in New York City, where the minister was. And one of the first people that came out there to look out for them, to help them, to stand with them, was Sister Aretha Franklin. And then she asked the question, where's Jesse Jackson? Have he called yet? And at that point, he hadn't called. She said, don't worry about it. He'll be calling in a minute. James Brown. I can go down a whole list of people from the past all the way up to the future, all the way up to this date, that's been standing with the minister that he's affected. And then if we're not just talking about no entertainment, I'm talking about world leaders. I was blessed to travel with the Honorable Minister with Farrakhan and Brother Minister Ajuma Muhammad to Libya back 35 years ago, bro. And I've seen how Colonel Gaddafi dealt with him. I've seen how leaders all around the world leaders, you know, in Africa and Ghana. I can tell you all that. I mean, you don't want me to start talking. I mean, you want to. I think we should do what you call a roll call. And the roll call, if you talk about Killer Mike, I mean, I'm telling people who broke down in tears, they can't even stand up there with the minister and have a conversation with him without saying, man, you impacted my life. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they didn't even get a chance to hear the minister. It was a tape record. It was a tape. The tape was so hot. Sometimes it was a tape. And the tape was such to the point where they said, hey, man, I don't know who this is, but I got to hear this for real. And they sit back and heard down the Muscle Woods Farrakhan, and just from hearing on the Muscle Woods Farrakhan, they were just taken off course. They couldn't see it. It was like a tsunami that hit them. You know, Brother Jermaine Jackson, you name it, Mike Tyson. I mean, we can talk from days and days. Brother Jermaine, you can jump in there because, I mean, there's plenty of them out here that I can't even think of, but I know a whole lot of them. But I think if we do a roll call, if they call in on your show, as your guest call in, Brother Naba'a, in the next hour or two or whatever, maybe they can start saying some of the ones. But I don't know none of them for the most part, unless they was owned by them white folks and them Jews, because, you know, anytime they start saying anything good about them Jews told them, hold up, you can't, if you expect to have a career now, you can't do that. That's the main thing you can't do.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, Brother Anthony, one of the things, because see, sometimes we just listen to what the enemy says. And the enemy always wants to take us back. And he always wants to take us to where they can lie, right? But I want to bring us up to date, even though it's been some years now. Kamala Harris, right?
Oh, yeah.
In 1995, check this out now. The daughter of Brother Malcolm, Kamala Harris, was indicted by a federal grand jury. This is the daughter of the late Brother Malcolm. And she was charged with using a telephone and traveling interstate in the course of hiring another person to murder Minister Louis Farrakhan. Right. The leader of the Nation of Islam. This federal indictment continued. At all times mentioned in the affidavit to President, no physical attempt on Louis Farrakhan's life was made, nor was he in immediate danger. Farrakhan, who resides in Chicago, was notified of the investigation by the FBI, which was monitoring the alleged scheme by audio tape, videotape surveillance, and other investigative methods, brothers and sisters. Can I break that down for you? In 1995, the enemy again tried to harm Brother Malcolm and take another step toward destroying our community. Kamala, Brother Malcolm's daughter, I'm going to say was lured. I want you to hear me well.
Come on.
Was entrapped by an FBI agent, a white boy, I think he was also Jewish, who was a high school classmate of hers, Michael Fitzpatrick. And so, you know, during these conversations, she would say things and he would record her. And of course, you know, no telling what was said because the tapes were never released. But the FBI came to the minister, told him about this death plot and it's Malcolm's daughter. They after you. You know what the minister said to them? The FBI ain't never been my friend. You hear what I said?
That's right.
The FBI ain't never been my friend. And they camped out, the media camped out, brother. And I don't remember, Brother James, why I was at the palace that day. You must have been out of the country or out of town.
Yeah, I know. I went up to Milwaukee, up to that city. I think it was in Wisconsin.
Okay, so I was sitting with the minister and brothers and sisters. The media was out there. They always got here, And finally, he sends out his chief of staff, Lieutenant FARRAKHAN Muhammad, who delivers a message from the minister. And the minister says, basically, we don't want you, Brother Leonard, and I'm not quoting him perfectly, we want nothing to happen to Dr. Betty Shabazz or her children. And if anything happens to them, we are holding the U.S. government responsible. And they talked about some video that was taken that gave the house number on her house. The minister blew that trumpet, boy. They started scrambling.
Yeah.
Then he had a press conference at Mosque Mariam, and he invited all the leaders to come. He had his daughters and his family there with him. And he laid it out, man, talked about the evil of the enemy and how we had never heard Dr. Shabazz's story, and he indicted the government, the federal government, on their indictment, right?
Yeah.
So I go to Minnesota. Interesting that he was indicted in Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I believe that Mr. Fitzpatrick had lured her to move to Minnesota with the promise of a new start, right? I go to Minnesota. And the U.S. attorney that's handling this thing is David Lillehall. Look him up. And so naturally, I called the big headquarters in D.C., right? They say, no, we ain't dealing with that. You got to talk to Lillehall, brothers and sisters. Come on now. You talking about a plot against the life of Minister Farrakhan, and you got some 2-bit, I shouldn't say that, 4-bit prosecutor in Minnesota handling this, and y'all don't have nothing to say. Man, the minister spoke so powerfully, man, he blew that thing up. And I'm telling you because I was there. So that was supposed, so Dr. Betty Shabazz, when she found out, she said that she was surprised by his humanity and da-da-da. And so there was supposed to have been now people like Dr. Hakeem Adabudi was involved, people like Dr. Conrad Burrell was involved, and there were others involved, you know, in this dialogue between the minister and the Shabazz family. Right? And there was supposed to be, because the minister spoke so hard, a fundraiser, legal fundraiser for Kamala Shabazz at the Apollo Theater. You can go to finalcall.com and search and read about it right now.
That was
Just go on finalcall.com. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somebody say something?
No, I was saying that was hot.
Yeah, so what was supposed to be a fundraiser became the beginning of steps toward reconciliation. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Betty Shabazz came and she spoke. And one of the things that she said, my brothers and sisters, and there's a video of that. Go to store.finalcall and that audio. Go to store.finalcall and get it. You don't have to take my word for it. You get the actual facts. So one of the things that I remember her saying was essentially she liked having the minister refer to Brother Malcolm to Malcolm X, her husband, as Brother Malcolm. It was such a beautiful night, man. The junior FOI came out from New York. Big shout out to Mosque number 7. And they gave Dr. Shabazz a huge bouquet of flowers. Mother Farrakhan, the minister's dear wife, when she saw Dr. Shabazz, she gave her brother such a hug. I mean, it was like Mother Khadija embraced her. It was like she absorbed Dr. Shabazz into herself. Two sisters that had not talked to each other. I think in that time it had been 28 years, right? Or maybe almost 30 by then. And so it was a beautiful night, man. Moving on from there, these steps toward reconciliation continued. And Dr. Shabazz spoke at the Million Man March.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't know that? You got to stop reading that white man's news, y'all. You better start reading the Final Call.
That's right.
I know you don't think these people want to tell you truth. But anyway, so it was a beautiful thing. I want to get to one more thing because I want to bring us a little further forward, okay? But guess what, brothers and sisters? Guess what? See, last year, February 21st, the anniversary of the murder of our brothers, the family of Malcolm X said that they were suing the CIA, the FBI, the New York Police Department, and others for $100 million for playing a role in the death of Brother Malcolm. Huh? Ben Crump was there. He was their lawyer, and they had a news conference in the former Audubon Ballroom, which is now like the Malcolm X Center, right? And so, now remember this, brothers and sisters. There were 3 men that were convicted of the death of Brother Malcolm. These 3 men were, 2 of them were exonerated in 2021. After a look back into their cases, showed the evidence used to gain convictions was shaky and that authorities held back some information. So then Brother Aziz, who was one of these brothers, he sued the state of New York and got several $1 million. Mm-hmm. There was only one man that participated in that attack that said he did it, and he, from the beginning, exonerated the 2 Muslims that were arrested with him. And go to finalcall.com, and you will see others, FBI informants coming forward now. Now, do you know the man that's allegedly on stage giving Brother Malcolm mouth to mouth after he was shot? You know that's Gene Roberts, right? Mm. You know he was an informant, right? You know that.
Yes, sir. Sure was.
You know he retired from the police department, right? Mm-hmm. You know, after infiltrating Malcolm's organization, he went on to infiltrate the Black Panther Party in New York. You know that, right? This ain't news to you. Or maybe you don't know. So we just bearing witness and doing a little roll call. Brother Jay, you want to get in here or you want to hold up?
I've been enjoying you, brother Naba'a. You just kind of like set the whole table for this conversation, man. And you just, that opening statement that you gave, brother, it was like the defense attorney and for the work of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because you laid it out so beautifully. And I would add to that, though, brother, if even in this conversation, in this issue with regard to the groups that we brought up earlier in the conversation about ADOS and all of that, if they took the minister's example of how to approach a problem, the result of the issue would dissipate because the approach would end up being a love fest rather than a debate or an argument. And why do I say that? Now, instead of us focusing on the negative, let's look at what is causing this whole negative. As you pointed out, man, we got enemies that have not stopped since we've been brought over here to keep us in bondage. And you referenced COINTELPRO. It hasn't gone away. As a matter of fact, it's gotten more sophisticated than ever before. The way the FBI and the FBI, how they created letters and sent it to certain Panther members or sent it into the nation, disparaging different people or creating mischief through their letters. That whole thing is happening today. So when we see a commotion start or an argument start, we got to kind of like look deeper into it to see where the source of it is coming from. And oftentimes we will see the enemy's hand in that source. It makes me think also of just this recent, the DNC conference where they had thousands of people marching, calling for a ceasefire, protesting the genocide that's happening in Israel. And for the most part, it was peaceful. But there were certain factions or parts of them who broke off and, you know, either tried to break through the police barricade, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you see something like that, I'm saying that you got to ask, where did that come from? Are these provocateurs that have been sent in to cause a disturbance when ordinarily it was meant to be peaceful? Or were these just sporadic deeds that somebody decided to do? So to your point, you always look underneath to see the source of what's happening. And I think the way you just laid everything out, man, was beautiful. So because I'm wondering, you know, why throw barbs? We got a big problem, and reparations is a major issue. For me personally, I follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's program. It's laid out in black and white. It answers every question that we need to have answered with regard to this issue of reparations and how the government should respond to it. So, I mean, I just think, to your point, let's have civilized conversation about these touchy issues, and we'll come out holding hands, and whatever differences we have, I believe will just dissipate because of the love that we show in the content of our conversations, brother. So that's all I had right at this point, man. So I like listening to you the way you was breaking it down, brother.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
I want Brother Jimmer to pop back in there, though. Brother Jimmer, you really haven't got a chance to say anything, and I want the world to get a chance to hear you.
To be honest with you, Brother Shahid, I'm just so inspired with what I'm hearing. And the brothers are absolutely 1,000% on point. We have an open enemy who camouflages himself and herself on so many different levels. They use the media as a seductive tool to will our people in and create confusion and discord. They love to keep us confused and divided. That way we become our own enemy and overseer. And to have the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as a foundation is just a wonderful pathway to success, in my opinion. I see the transformation that it's had in my life and so many others. And again, I just thank Allah for His mercy for really, Brother Shahid, bringing us all into, you know, that teaching. You know, we talk about it all the time. It wouldn't be no Malcolm X. It wouldn't be a Minister Lord Farrakhan. It wouldn't be an Anthony Shahid. It wouldn't be a Brother Naba'a. It wouldn't be none of us if it wasn't for that teaching. And that teaching was so prolific. It was so profound. It helped us better understand ourselves in relationship to God. Helped us to better understand ourselves in terms of the devil. We thought the devil was underground with a pitchfork.
Right.
We didn't know that the devil had blue eyes and pale skin and was right there in front of us. You know, the Native Americans said that 60 years of treaties, not one time did this white man never tell the truth. And we see that evident in today, every day, all day. So, you know, if we take the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, build schools for ourselves, and do for ourselves, we're going to be all right. This devil going to become insignificant until we have to physically deal with him. And at some point, we're going to have to deal with him. Yeah. I just thank Allah for this platform to be able to say a few words. I'm really just taking it all in, Brother Shahid. I'm just a student. I'm like a baby just taking all this in, brother.
Look, all of us are students. But I'm going to jump back in just one more time because I'm really paying attention to this COINTEL program, something that I lived through as a young Muslim. I came into Islam when I was 8, and I'm 70 years old now. So I don't know nothing but this. But the only person that they should Google as you're speaking, Brother Nava and Brother James and Brother BJ.
Yeah.
Murphy, they could Google and they can see about this COINTEL program, how they was on everybody, you know, Paul Robeson, how these white folks was on, you name them, they was on them. But the only one they couldn't penetrate and they couldn't kill was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because Allah, you got to get past Allah when you have a divine servant in your midst. And they couldn't get past Allah, but they couldn't get past that FOI need. Let's keep it real. You couldn't get past that FOI, brother. I'm telling you. I lived that. I know for a fact what the hell I'm talking about. And so what they had to do is to try to kill his character.
Right.
Because they knew physically, all the rest of them, you name them, they physically killed them. What they did to Brother Marcus Garvey, Moselle Garvey, all of them. We can just go down a whole list of them. But so what they had to do, even though they knew that the FBI and the New York Police Department, the CIA, had really tried to get Malcolm 3 times before they could get him. But they weren't able to do it. But as soon as he tripped and didn't listen to his teacher, the wise man, like walking with Pedir in the Holy Quran, Moses couldn't be quiet for a minute. They seen a chance to come on in there. But so even though they know what they did, how they always got a damn book come out every, look like 2 or 3 years, or some kind of new tape, talking about how we killed Malcolm. Knowing all the damn time we didn't do it, knowing all the time they got records that they killed him. They got they got documentation proved they killed him, when they killed him, how they killed him. How Gene Roberts, and it wasn't just Gene Roberts, there was 2 or 3 other ones around there too. They had to infiltrate it all the way up in there. But they act like they had amnesia and they didn't know that, because they wanted to keep that scenario out. And it really should be the family of the minister and the Elijah Muhammad family, and everybody should be suing these devils, because, and y'all do know it, and I'm not disrespecting nobody, but you don't know what we lived through as a little young blood. Look, FYI, every time I was doing something and mentioned Elijah Muhammad's name, the way we love him, somebody tell, man, that man got y'all tricked. They killed Malcolm. You know how many times I got hit with that as a young Muslim growing up. And what that did to me, now, I stood the ground because I knew if the messenger wanted somebody killed, there would be one dead person. Messenger never wanted that. He told me to keep your hands off his son, Imam Muhammad, and also Dirty Red was his saying. And it was all through the book, the Muslim brothers. We knew not to do nothing like that, But the mere fact that they kept that out there like that and strong, and it looked like every 2 or 3 years there was something coming out, to the point when they come out with this thing with Malcolm, with Spike Lee, and they never stop. They're a devil without a pause. They don't pause when it comes to their wickedness and how they just hiss it and spread the word of deception, how they just preach the damnable heresy. They never let off of it, all until they got caught with their draws down trip. And that's what the brothers in the street say. When they catch a brother, they caught with their draws down trip. They got caught with their draws down trip and didn't know that the brother was going to have a letter put down that his family members were going to read and go over everything, after he was dead and gone, and prove how they killed Malcolm. Mm-hmm. But not only should Malcolm's family hit them, the Muslims should be able to hit them, because I'm telling you, it was a hurt to this day. We had to weather that. A lot of people just hearing about it, we had the absolute, I don't care where we were, and especially us young ones, they done made y'all some paper boys, got y'all on the streets. We knew we had a word that was in that paper, in the Muhammad Speak newspaper, that could raise the dead and to clean us up and everything. But you got to understand what we went through during that time. So I'm going to just kind of sit back for a minute and just keep listening. But they don't know what the Elijah Muhammad means. The Elijah Muhammad loved us more than we loved ourselves. He said it was 30 million of us, and we got every last one of us, and one was left, and he was on a mountain 20 miles high, climb that mountain, and you take your time and teach him harder and longer than you taught the very first one. That's how his teachings was,
Mm-hmm.
So, alhamdulillah.
Can I ask y'all a question? Can we talk about the health condition of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his near-death experiences and what he has suffered health-wise in the struggle to help our people? Because a lot of people don't know.
No, I was going to say, Brother DJ, that's how I was thinking about that as everybody was talking. I was just thinking how the Christians look at the cross, and they see that Jesus figure hanging on the cross with his hands nailed, his feet nailed to the cross, and he's bleeding. And I said to myself, man, that's the minister. His heart is open. His life story is before us. I mean, he hasn't kept he hasn't kept any secrets from black people, from the nation. He has talked so openly about his injuries, his near-death experiences. I mean, the details of how he experienced it, that, you know, most people would be somewhat ashamed to even describe it in the way that he's described it. So what he has given to our people of himself is immeasurable, and it's to not be appreciative of that is a sin. To denigrate that. I mean, it's a sin, because the man has walked through fire for our people. And he's been, like you said, near death, moments from death, where they had to, according to what was been said, turn his body upside down in order for his vital organs, his brain, etc., to get blood to it. And so, you know, to denigrate that, and he's been the voice. Somebody was mentioning, when you hear him speak, the tape transforms your life. You don't even have to see him, because of the word, the truth that's in the word that he speaks. So, I mean, that was what I was thinking as Brother Shahid was so eloquently talking about the history of the nation. And of course, the minister comes from a man who was taught by Allah God. And for us as a people, I mean, I know myself. I mean, as a people, if you're not familiar with the teaching and you're just hearing this, a lot of this could kind of so strange, but it was nothing as strange as me being told as a child that when I die, I'm going to go up into the sky in heaven. I couldn't imagine that. And I couldn't imagine somebody living in the ground with a big fire where you would go. So I couldn't imagine that. So when I was presented with something that made more sense, that was much easier to accept and to investigate, and then to at some point become a believer, and inshallah to continue to grow in belief. So I just want to mention that, brother. You mentioned exactly what I was thinking.
Can we go to the phone line real quick, brothers?
Absolutely. Let's go.
We got Brother Ronald Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. You're on WBON on Straight Words, Brother Ronald.
Wa alaikum salam. Brother, there's nothing much more that I can say that hasn't been said. I bear witness to all that they've said, and as we talk, you know, if we can't see the parallel of the scriptures being fulfilled, then we are truly deaf, dumb, and blind. And I mean, what we've been given is the epitome of love, and that's the energy source that motivates Allah God to do all that He does. And if we can't see, and I guess we've been told to take plenty. We've been taught to take plenty. So you know, this game that they playing, divide and conquer, I mean, by now it should be played out. It's been played with Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. You know, Malcolm and King. You know, the minister and trying to bring him up against Malcolm in his death. You know, please. What they say, the new code is what? B1, black first. And we have to be willing to give the movement a higher place. What we're talking, inordinate self-interest is a flaw within the community. Inordinate self-interest. get yourself out the way and get with the movement. If it's not going to help the movement, if it's going to cause a discrepancy or halt our forward progress, get yourself out the way.
That's right, Brother Brown.
You know, so I'll end it with that. But you brothers, you've expressed, you've made it crystal clear, and just to see, you know, boy, the suffering. If we look at the prophets, if we look at the holy men of the past, they all suffered. You know, so we got to, you know, if he's a suffering servant. We're suffering servants, brother. So Allah is just making His word bond, and the wise would be wise to join in and what they used to. Yeah. My mother used to take a typing class. And one of the things she had to say, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their nation. Yes, and now is such a time. Assalamu alaikum.
Breaks line, Brother Ronald. You can call in, brothers and sisters, 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. You want to get in on the conversation, Brother Naba'a?
You know, brothers, I really thank you, because the Nation of Islam, right? First of all, the minister revived the Nation of Islam in 1997 after it had been destroyed. There was no nation. It was a change after the Honorable Ajuma Muhammad's departure. His son took over, and he did what he thought was correct for the nation. Took it into a more orthodox practice of Islam. The minister, after about 3 years, I guess, pretty much 3 years, he traveled different places. He traveled different places. And for about 3 years, you know, and he saw wherever he went that black people were on the bottom. So he proceeded to decide he was going to rebuild the Nation of Islam, starting from nowhere with nothing. Now, I want you to remember, see, so I'm 63. See, I remember the late 70s and early 80s. Negroes wasn't trying to be black brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They weren't trying to be Afrocentric. They wasn't talking about melanin popping. They were trying to get in to the white man's society and do it big, do it big, do it big. At one point, they talked about a new class of politicians that they called non-racial politicians. One was Mayor David Dinkins in New York. One was Mayor Kurt Smoke in Baltimore. I think Wilson Good in Philadelphia may have been another one. And they were talking about now these appeals that these black politicians had across racial lines, because usually to elect a black person in a major office, you had to have really overwhelming black support, or if it was a congressional thing, they had to be drawn into a district that was predominantly black. That was the only way they were getting into office. If you talked about Malcolm X back then, you were considered radical and crazy. Do you hear me? Radical and crazy. There was no stamp honoring him. If you talked about reparations, you were considered crazy and out of touch with reality. So even though our late congressman out of Detroit, John Conyers, what you say, brother James? How many years you say it was that he would introduce
about 40
that bill?
years, brother.
40 years.
And now sisters done reintroduced it. And they still ain't dealing with it.
Just to have a study, y'all. Not to get into the repair, just to have a study, man. So what I'm saying is, Nobody was talking about it's a black thing you can't understand. No. But what did we see? We saw the continued rise of racism and this backlash, right? And the minister, none of that apparent progress for black folk or hoping white folk from black folk, none of that deters him, not one bit. He just continues to teach over and over and over again. How many years? What was it? 7 years before he gave a main stream press interview, brother James. Do you remember how many years it was?
You mean at the beginning?
When he first started, he talked about how he didn't give any interview. Do you remember? Was it 7 years?
It may have been, brother.
Well, it was many years because I don't want to state nothing that ain't correct. Many years. And the minister said when the mainstream media would ask him, basically he would say, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. He couldn't talk about it, right? But he was pregnant with a nation, pregnant with an idea. He has an encounter with Brother Jabril Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with him, who in the early days of the Nation of Islam was known as Bernard Kushmir. And Brother Jabril gave the minister the book, Is It Possible That the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is Still Physically Alive? If I'm wrong, brothers, please correct me. And the minister read that book. And it verified for him things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had told him that would happen in his absence. And the minister went to work. He went to work for 10 years on a Stop the Killing tour all around the country. When Reverend Jesse Jackson, man, y'all got to know this, man.
Come on now.
When Reverend Jesse Jackson ran for the presidency in 1984, and without Reverend Jackson running in 84 and getting concessions in 84 and concessions in 1988, you would not have had a Barack Obama. Oh, man, what you mean? Hold on a minute. Because Reverend Jackson changed the rules, fought to change the rules. He said that, since black folks were such supporters of the Democratic Party, that blacks should have more power in the party, right? But the quote-unquote established Negroes didn't want to see that. But the minister stood with Reverend Jackson, but he said, I'm standing with Reverend Jackson, but I got something in my back pocket, and what he said don't. And that thing in his back pocket was separation. Reverend Jackson received death threats. It was the FOI, the men of the Nation of Islam, who protected him. And see, some of these, like the foundational Black Americans, they have enjoyed the protection of the FOI today. Today, they have.
That's right.
Okay? So my point is, then Reverend Jackson made a statement, unfortunate, about Hymetown. He was talking about the power of the Jewish vote in New York, Jewish political power. He was speaking off the record with a Washington Post reporter, black reporter, Milton Coleman. Now, Milton Coleman took that information and gave it to a colleague, and it exploded all in the Washington Post, all on the media. Just Reverend Jackson, who was already getting death threats, was now getting death threats from like the Jewish Defense League and the Jewish Defense League, and I think the other one was the Jewish Defense Organization, gun-toting, known for violence, right? So all this is swirling around Reverend Jackson. The minister said all he could see was the possible death of his brother. So he spoke boldly like a man that loves somebody and like a man who has seen black leaders die. He said, we as black people are tired of feeding our leaders to animals, to our leaders to white people, like raw meat to animals. He said, we can afford to lose an election, but we can't afford to lose Reverend Jackson. Well, the next day he was called the new black Hitler. Imagine that, man. You take one of the worst, man.
Right.
Killers, your Caucasian family. And you take that and you put that on a man because you don't like what he said. The man ain't threatened you. The man ain't harmed you. But see, this is the nature of the enemy, brothers and sisters.
Right.
And so since that time, the minister has been involved in this quote-unquote controversy with Zionists and Jewish people. And now they've had so many people denounce him who know that it ain't true, man. But they're so afraid. They're so afraid, but this is not the time to be afraid. Because I'm telling you, like Fox News has been running these things, and what they do to take the minister and they connect him with somebody else. Like Reverend Mark Thompson did a thing at the Democratic National Convention. He spoke. Fox Digital blasted it all over because he said, part of what he said, it's a 7-second clip that after the election, y'all can go back to acting crazy. Well, I communicated with Brother Mark, and he said, yeah, man, they stretched that. I said, brother, I'm sure they did. I said, you probably said to the black folk, look, man, we're trying to be disciplined during the election. So we need to stay together. We don't need to fall out with one another. We don't need to get into the ego thing. We need to work. And then after the election, we can go back to acting crazy. He said, man, that's what I said. But look at what the enemy did, man. They blasted that poor brother all over everywhere, talking about the Democrats said they could act crazy after the election. And you know that was like a major story. They had our brother Tariq Muhammad, who works with the Reverend Lennox Yearwood. I forget the name of their thing. They did the same thing to him. And they do it over and over and over again. And my point is, I said this some time ago, brothers and sisters. When they lie on and attack the minister, they want to have him remember what COINTELPRO about discrediting, right? Now, anybody that comes near him, they can attack because they don't want not one black leader to be strong. Not one. Mm-hmm. And this is the devil doing what the devil does, and their media plays a role. So, brothers and sisters, this is Brother Naba'a Muhammad with Brother James G. Muhammad and Brother B.J. Murphy, Hall of Fame radio broadcaster, by the way. You're listening to Straight Words. We're going to come back, and we're going to have you hear Yvette Carnell, who is the founder and leader of the American descendant of slavery. Mm-hmm. But look, right now, you can see if you text us right now, 312-480-9775, 312-480-9775, I will respond to you about how you can help us financially. But go to the website now, straightwords.com. We got how you can give. We need your support. If you like what you're hearing, if you believe in Black unity, if you want to see progress, if you are so happy to hear the truth, if you enjoy this, because we certainly enjoy bringing it to you. As my brother James G. Muhammad says in our promo, and on Straight Words, we have a good time. Isn't it beautiful to have a good time injecting, ingesting, and hearing inspiring truth? This is Straight Words. We'll be right back after this break. Take it away, Deontay.